Chat. I'm a mess, Scott.
I know what you are.
You don't know what I am.
Can you retweet your own tweet?
Yes, but obviously it's better if you hold it for a few hours. All right, looks like we're live.
Oh my god, you can retweet your own tweet now.
That's been a thing for a while.
I didn't know that.
Welcome to 2017, buddy.
How? I'm assuming we'll probably spend like 5
yeah.
minutes trying to figure out how this mic works.
Oh, we're a mess. But I mean, this is nothing new for us.
No.
I got chat popped out.
Yeah, see, 100% going to be too quiet. Adanas, teach me things.
You gotta get close. Here, just pull this out.
I don't. This is a whole.
That'll be good.
I'm assuming this is good, so we'll just like take turns.
Yeah.
leaning
So
in and
like,
out.
how is this with me talking, and then we'll try this.
We probably should have done like trial runs.
You were in a meeting.
You should have done trial runs.
I did. Just not live. I set
Closer?
up,
I guess I can go. I guess I can just like take control of it, and then you can just go from there.
I was gonna log into Twitter.
Maybe. I actually don't know. If this isn't good, then we got our own issues to figure out.
I'm gonna reduce the size of this box. We're professionals. Wrong box.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
I made the cam the full thing.
Yeah, I know. I think it's too big.
It's the background is just an image of. Okay.
It's too overbearing.
Okay. Sound. No way to put. Yeah. Well, how do you put the gain up on this thing?
Here, we'll do that real quick.
Go. Hit me. Nope. Other one. Top one.
No, this is one that's live.
Is it?
Yeah, it's checked.
Mm.
That's for the headset.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, it's already boosted.
Well,
We'll boost it a little bit more.
I mean, I can see it going. It might be too loud at this point, but whatever. 2 minutes for technical difficulties. That's
a new record for us. That's great.
That's pretty fast, if you ask me.
All right, guys. Okay, they said it's better.
Perfect.
So
Let's get
okay.
going.
Let's just talk like this right now, both equally away from the mic. And if there's issues, chat will let us know. So, guys, welcome to the developer Q&A for Hand of the Gods. We've got a bunch of questions you guys submitted, both from Twitter, Facebook, and as well as in the Discord channel. Rip ears.
Down. Bring it down to like 90.
Okay.
I think it was at 90.
Well, they're on a delay.
Exactly. So
yeah.
I'm assuming they were at 99. Oh, see, it went up to 100. Yeah, bring it down to 90. And then I think because this isn't going crazy out of whack, so I think that
spiked it like twofold.
Instantly, yeah.
Okay, guys. So we're just going to go through some questions. We've got a bunch of names here that we pulled from all the sources I mentioned. After we get through all of those questions, we'll then start fielding some questions from chat. Please try and pay attention so we, don't answer the same question twice. We've got an hour, so we want to get through as much as possible. And at the end, we're going to spoil the Hindu leader intro. I think you already said who the leader was. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna spoil the Ganesh leader intro, and then I think we have one card. Yeah, we have one card to kind of spoil.
And maybe Scott will be nice and talk a little bit more about Hindu.
Just gotta get out of my face.
All right, guys. So first set of questions was from Dashel Rogue. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Number one, do you guys have any plan already for a future game mode? If that's the case, any spoils about it? Cough, cough. 2v2.
So this is a question I get asked a lot. I think it's one that everyone is expecting us to kind of do as a 2v2. If you guys know Kenny in the Discord as well as some other people, I've sent him over kind of a couple different rule sets to mess around with. The latest one that I sent him is one of the more casual friendly modes that we would try to do with 2v2. So right now there's no active development work being done on 2v2, but we are actively prototyping it inside of the community. I'm kind of getting the feedback from Kenny and those guys, but internally we haven't started any of it. I think that'll probably change pretty soon. It really just depends on where we're kind of at. I think after Hindu, we'll probably reassess the state of the game, like we always do after every single Pantheon, and then priorities could be shifted. It just all kind of depends.
It's in the mind. It's in the back of the mind. It's definitely
I
wasn't
great
gonna
today.
say anything, but mine's a
It
little
looks.
bit off, too.
I have Adanas there.
He has a second question. Mine is not good today. I don't know more Joe. Anyways, second question from him as well. This is not a problem for non-Smite players, but any chance that future leaders are other roles other than mages and warriors? I think he just means thematically, and that maybe a guardian leader. Well, you got your answer.
That's actually kind of funny. So that was not by design at all. We didn't, when we were picking leaders for the different pantheons, we weren't specifically targeting mages or warriors. We kind of just looked at, well, who would make the most sense to be the leader, and it just kind of worked out to be that way. Obviously, Ganesh is a guardian inside of Smite. He will be the leader of the Hindu pantheon.
I guess that kind of works thematically too, though, since Hindu's controls and Guardian is control.
Thematically, you can make the ties to make it seem like we were very elaborate with it, but realistically, we've just kind of picked the ones that were the best for the bill.
All right, next up, Jake in the Slow Zone asks, any ideas for the next Pantheon?
Well, yeah.
Mayan was a dope idea, and there are there others you've considered? If it's Hindu eyes, which one have you considered that aren't Hindu? So we'll answer that. Yeah, we'll go with that first.
So I guess the question is what other pantheons did I consider besides Hindu? So I actually just wrote an interview on this, but so basically when it comes to adding a pantheon, what we like to do is first we start by taking a look at the current state of the game. And then from there we say, okay, what's really strong in the meta? What's not being played? And what are we missing? Right now, since we only have 6 pantheons, and at the time of mine we only had 5, it was pretty easy to find these missing archetypes, but as we inevitably add more and more and more, it'll be a little bit more difficult. So when we looked at the game currently, we said, well, there's not really a true control avenue. Yes, you can kind of do strategies inside of Egypt now, and in 0.27, which is the patch coming out next week, you'll have a means to do it inside of Chinese. With Chang'e and Zhangqi, you're able to kind of scale a little bit better to get to that point, but nothing true control, nothing that says, counter the next card your opponent plays, or a structure that reduces all enemies' movement or reduces all enemies' attack. We have none of that in there, and so for the Hindu pantheon, we kind of looked at it and we said, okay, this is the avenue we have to fit. But at the time of it, we looked at it and we said, okay, well, could we do Japanese with the same kind of theme? And Austin and I went back and forth a little bit on it, but we both kind of agreed that Hindu would be a better fit for a control over Japanese.
Right, even just like the Hindu pantheon and the thematic use of pacifism in it, and a lot, not the whole way through, but that is a pretty strong thing that comes back and forth.
To an extent, yes.
Jake in the Slow Zone also asks, is there a chance Hand of the Gods will be coming to other platforms, or will it remain Windows only? I mean, this is a question we get all the time.
I don't actually know how I can answer this, but if I have, without giving anything away, if I have anything to say about it, we will be trying to get our way onto console, when hopefully at some point we might be able to say it if we actually do it.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where I'm not really at liberty to say any of it, and we actually don't have enough details on it yet for me to say. But if you know me, I was in charge of bringing console Smite, or bringing Smite to console. So I would love to see our game on consoles. I would also love to see it on tablet, and I would love to see it on the Switch.
Awesome. Well,
that's kind of my hot.
You want to scoot over a little bit? I'm trying to get more in
really
frame.
Want to, no.
I'm being cut off.
Well,
it's fine. Okay, never mind. Up next, we have Omar ask the question, what is the schedule of release cards? Do we get like 30 per month? So kind of like, how are cards being introduced inside Hand of the Gods?
So, if you looked at Hand of the Gods so far, normally we've been kind of we hold some cards for, whether it's a Pantheon expansion. So for Mayan, we backed it up multiple schedules in order to make sure that Mayan could release with 30 plus cards inside of it. So that's kind of how we've been doing it. And so when we have a Pantheon plan, it normally reduces the amount of cards that we'll release inside of a month. Now, that's all inside of closed beta. We're still not sure what the long-term plan is going to be, if we're going to move to something where maybe we release, 30 cards once every month, or maybe we hold on to things more and do like 2-month cycles or 3-month cycles. A lot of it is still kind of up in the air, but right now the current plan is to make sure we're always patching every single 2 weeks. And if we do not have a Pantheon released or announced that we're working on, so for example, we have the Hindu Pantheon that we're working on currently, which is why you guys are seeing maybe 5 to 7 cards in a patch. But if we don't have one released, you can expect to see 10 to 15 cards every single patch. So that would be 30 cards month.
About. Okay.
But right now, we're still trying to figure out the entire schedule.
Yeah, it's still, we literally just went to open beta, like 17 to 20 days ago, somewhere around there. So,
Correct.
we're still in pretty active development. There's still a lot of polish and content to come out before an official launch. So, I think the same cycle we've done with Paladins and Smite, this 2-week patch cycle, I think will continue for a little bit. Up next is Leonis. I'm really bad at this sometimes.
Leonis.
That actually sounds better.
I just know that he is the one whose deck I used inside of the event. So
I think he's actually ramping up to be a caster too. So,
oh, sweet, awesome.
Will the rewards for Thunderdome change in the near future to be more equally distributed?
Yeah. So I think this is a concern that I've seen a lot of people talk about, and I haven't really said anything publicly on it because, I just haven't done it. So kind of when we first started Thunderdome, the original idea was that you could go up to 7 wins, and then from there it was incrementally better. But the original idea was that you could go on forever, right? Okay. And then we kind of realized like, oh, well, there's no point in really going on forever. Most people kind of want to stop inside of there. Because we don't have anything that displays like how your longest win streak or anything like that, and we didn't have anything planned, so we decided to scale it back. So with that said, I will be looking at the arena rewards after 7 wins in the near future, but probably not 0.27 because we haven't touched it yet, but maybe in 0.28 or 0.29 is something we can reassess.
Okay, and then his second question was, will there be seasons and seasonal rewards or a way to qualify through ladder for something to make ladder more high stakes?
Will there be so seasons?
Seasons
being ranked rewards kind of thing.
Yeah, I think he's talking in the scope of ranked.
Ranked rewards right now. Obviously, we're not resetting ranked. We haven't announced anything about resetting ranked. This is something that's kind of once we get out of open beta and we get more pantheons in there. I think it's something that we will talk about. But the current plan right now is that we're just kind of trying to see how the system is, and there's still a lot of improvements that I personally want to make. I don't believe that showing the MMR after you get past rank 1 actually was received the best way that it could. It gets a little bit weird for people when they see their MMR and then there's the high swings and down, up and down.
It's the same thing we saw in Smite
So we're looking at trying to revamp that to make that a little bit better of an experience for people. We'll have more details on that down the road, but that is something we are looking at. But in the sense of rewards for ranked, yeah, there's absolutely going to be rewards for ranked. We just need to kind of figure out how we want to reset ranked and the seasons that are included inside of that. So once we know how we're going to do it, so for example, if we said every 6 weeks we want to reset ranked, you would expect to see better rewards the higher ranked you are versus the lower ranked.
Up next is Mercurin, and he has a number of questions. First up, our profiles,
that's a lot.
Match history, more data, also about other players coming soon. So can you, like, after your games,
Soon?
can you... Yeah, soon
It's
is...
very important to quantify what soon means.
Soon is a pretty big term.
Soon in Hi-Rez terms could be anything, right? We have no idea. So dancing aside that, right now there's nothing currently on the schedule for match history or profile, but more data I can touch on. Match history or profile, there's nothing really on the scope of that before October. Okay. So assuming you mean soon as like a 2-month kind of turnaround, there's nothing currently for that. But we do know that it is very beneficial to have a match history. I want to have a very robust replay system as well where you can choose after it. It's just really about getting the priorities and figuring out when we can actually do it. But yeah, match history. So basically, if you want like a quick insight to how the design flow works for us is basically I take a list of all the systems and I created one document which is all future systems and designs and that we would ever implement ever. And then from there, as we complete one and we're getting close to a patch, we basically see which ones we can fit in there. And if it's multiple patches out that we have to start working on this, something like the combat log, right? Then we have to bump that back and reschedule it that way. So for the more data portion of it, today, before this, I just got out of a meeting where we were talking about the more advanced combat log. Okay. This is something that everyone knows right now. We show very limited information inside of our combat log. It's been something that I've been on a massive crusade about as a whole. But so we just got out of the meeting and we are going to move forward with the full combat log. So now you'll be able to mouse over the card,
the interactions,
each of the interactions, see who attacked who, what card was played on what unit, and all of those kind of different things, and that'll just lead to a better experience. So, in the sense of more data, that will be coming. But again, the programming part of that will start, and then we have to do the UI component of that. So that'll be a little bit after, but more data that way is coming. And then, as always, if you guys have any suggestions of more data that you would like to see, like your win rates on different pantheons or a specific deck, just let us know, and we can probably string something together. I obviously take a lot of feedback from you guys, so the more, the better.
Speaking of feedback, if you guys are not a part of the community Discord, you can check Reddit in the forums, join that. There's an Ask Gandhi channel. We fielded a lot of these questions from an Ask the Devs channel as well. We'll delete that, but next time we do another Q&A, I think we'll have it live there where all the questions are going to be focused inside the Discord. Up next from Mercury, can you give us a little bit more insight on how/where you are looking to create new cards? When you are mostly finishing up with general Smite elements. Closer looks at Pantheon lore and going on from there.
Okay, so I'm assuming he's kind of looking at like how
Outside
we're going to
of
do
Smite
creature.
characters,
Okay,
yeah.
so our own concepts. So obviously inside the Smite universe, there's a lot of mythological creatures that we've just never been able to get to, right? The Hydra was done inside of a PvE adventure in Smite. And it was funny because at the same time, we actually concepted our own Hydra that we outsource and that we're going to be bringing in to start. So we'll have our own kind of unique mythological creatures. But in addition to that, we got a lot of dudes in our game as neutral units. I want a lot of strong female presence inside of our game. So things like Amazons or Sirens or Banshees or Valkyries, those kind of things. And bringing those all to life is a lot of fun for us. So, when we design a Pantheon, for example, right, I do a bunch of research all on my own time. I normally spend about 1 to 2 weeks putting together a presentation for the entire development team to present it to them. Same kind of thing goes into this when we're talking about creatures, right? So, when I want to look up, let's say I wanted to do Sirens, right? Okay. So they're basically mermaids, for those of you who don't know. I would do a full thing on this, figure out what is the true mythological presence of this unit, and bring that to life the best way we can. And we would work with all the departments to do it. So right now we'll be tapping mostly mythological things. I also have my eyes set on a lot of Cyclopses. I think, there's a lot of room for Cyclopses that would be really cool in our game, very similar to the zombie.
We already have a few. Are you talking about like continuing on or like making their own design within
I think different, similar to them, but when I think of a Cyclops, right, I don't think of Argus or Sterops or Brontes, right? I think of like
Brontes. Big one-eyed
beasts. I think it's big one-eyed beasts that are about 30 to 40% bigger than the Argus that we have, and they're not nimble, right? One of them's holding a tree and they're kind of slow walking. Very similar to the zombies, but not necessarily reduced movement. But when they step, it's the one full length of the tile, and it feels very impactful. And I think that's something that we could use in our game that would be really awesome.
Awesome. Are stationary cards like the Roman towers or phoenixes going to come back?
Yes.
You want to pop this up now? The Hindu spoil? Because I think this is perfect for it.
Let's just go ahead and do it.
All
So,
right.
So inside of the Hindu pantheon, I guess let me bring this back even a little bit further. So we have experimented with multiple different structures to figure out which ones are the best. Personally, right now, I think Enyo Flag is the only one that really has any sort of impact on the board,
good.
right? We tried it with the hives, and I think, we were very afraid of the hives because originally we had it where you deal damage at the end of your turn, which basically just meant AMC is the craziest card of all time if it was at the end of the turn. So we had to add the counterplay to the start of the turn. So in the Hindu Pantheon specifically, we were looking at specific ways that you can play around these structures, but also give counterplay to your opponent. So Pillar of Austerity here, this is going to be a spell, which right now, this is all work in progress. So there's no Hindu Fram, there's no card art. We don't even have the Pillar model in yet. Yeah. But the current plan is that you can deploy this anywhere on the map. And it actually has a health pool. So this card would be, let's call it, I think right now it has 2 health. So you would deploy this pillar down. It has 2 health, and it reads, the next card your opponent attempts to play is countered, and this unit is killed. So when your opponent goes to play a card, that card never gets actually played onto the battlefield. It gets removed instantly and sent to your graveyard, and then your structure is destroyed. Now, the nice thing about making them structures is that your opponent actually can counterplay around it. If he has units on the board, he can go out of his way to kill this structure, and then the structure's gone, and then you can play a card and you can play it as normal. But since we have a board to play with, it made the most sense to add more counterplay inside of it.
Yeah, and there's also, someone mentioned it too in chat, like mana potion, right? So it's not like this super hard counter, like you could play around it as well as the opponent.
Exactly. But yeah, like, if you had Pillar of Austerity down and someone played a mana potion, it's like, well, GG, man, you lost your mana potion.
Interesting question, actually. Are we going to see, same from Mercury, are we going to see cards in the future that change the board for the entirety of the match? It being only a short buff, but staying like a visual effect that persists throughout the end of the game. Or also a staying gameplay stat/buff changing. I think it almost means like cards,
that impact.
That's like, yeah, so like think of Pokemon, right? And you can like do Rainy Day and all your water Pokemon are stronger for X turns, but it's permanent.
I mean, we don't have anything thought of for that yet. I think it's a pretty cool idea. I think if we wanted to say, I guess an example would be kind of like Shablanke's moon. If we wanted to say the moon like turns off the lighting and then it just kind of impacts the board, I think we could totally do something with it. But I think it's a great idea. We just haven't thought of it. So no, there's nothing planned, but there might be now.
Maybe. Also, his final question is also expanded VGS. So yes. I want to be in my opponent a little bit more.
The expanded VGS. This is something that's actually very important because at DreamHack Valencia, we realized how much personality we can actually have inside of the leader. And this is something that Stu Chisholm, our president of the company, has been a big fan of. He's like, hey, I need more VGS. So yeah, you're gonna get it in some way, shape, or form. I'm trying to sell the guys on doing dances for the leader. But it's one battle at a time.
I think my favorite part, and I had realized it a little bit before, but I was like reinforced in that moment, is it was Mace, I think versus Pot Pie in the finals. One played Chao Feng, then the other played Chao Feng, and then they both laughed. And then a third Chao Fei came out on the next turn, and then they both just laughed again at the same time. You just see them smiling in their cameras. Up next is Twisted's questions. This one's pretty expansive, and I don't really know if there's no real way to answer this. What are your end of year 1 and end of year 2 goals?
Damn.
I think that's a question where like
end of year 1 being from.
I'm assuming just end of this year. Imagine
end of
HRX.
This year? Okay.
We'll go with that for a moment.
I'm not exactly sure what kind of. I think
it's just going through the process and just keep polishing and updating.
It's a little different to answer, right? Because, we technically just got done with 1 year of full development, right? Yeah. And July 20th was a full year of our first development of the game from start to finish on Unreal 4. So, that was, that just kind of disappeared in front of me. So I think the main thing from a design perspective that I would like to see finished and done for Hand of the Gods by the end of the year is I would like to have at least one more Pantheon, which we're going to get with Side of Hindu. From there, after we assess the game, we might look at, maybe doing another one. Japanese would be really, really cool to explore as just a whole. So I think that would be super awesome. But making sure that I think seeing a nice esports scene, making sure that we get this like spectator mode out there and more polished. I know you've been working pretty close with the community on what they would like to see, and also with our production team to make sure that it gets brought out there. So I think more Pantheons with more unique archetypes inside of them. So Hindu bringing control, Japanese, who the hell knows what we'll do with that if we end up going with them. Esports scene being being received very well. And then probably just more features, right? Like there's still features we're missing. Like we're still missing match history. I really want to get a deck tracker inside of the game. I think that's super important. And then, I kind of want to try skins as just cosmetic changes, right?
Okay.
So like Jack-o'-lantern Thanatos, right? He comes in, like you can get him maybe however you can get him, right?
Okay.
This is just free flowing here, but you get Jack-o'-lantern Thanatos, right? And he shows up in your deck and it just replaces your Thanatos. It doesn't have different stats or anything else. It just has, a different voice line. It has different effects and you get different card art, right? Because, one of the most exciting things throughout the years of playing CCGs was just getting different card art, right? Like that's something that was really, really awesome for me. And I know like Magic the Gathering, for example, always just releases just the prints of their beautiful card art. And we have the same kind of thing. We have millions of dollars of card art that really should be surfaced. So I think that would be really sweet.
Awesome. Are we getting any kind of achievements, Steam or otherwise?
Yeah, achievements are huge. Achievements are something that, when we prioritize different things, we always look at achievements and are like, okay, when's the best possible time to add this? And that time hasn't happened yet. I have my design document for all of the achievements already created. Yeah. It really just comes down to implementing it. But I think the key for me with achievements is to make sure that, one, we can give players avenues to either get card packs or gold cards or something along those lines where they have more value, right? A lot of games nowadays just kind of make achievements just these things.
Do it so you get points.
And I remember the glory days of Xbox 360 where it was like achievements meant something. Like Achievement Hunter on Rooster Teeth was like it's still one of the most viewed, right? But it was really awesome to see people get 100% completion. And also Ray Brownman is like a really good friend of mine. So seeing him go through it was really, really awesome, and seeing the gamer score. So I think as long as we do it and we do it right, and we can put card backs and gold cards, and maybe like specific avatars to certain ones that are very difficult to show that you were able to do it, I think it would be received really well.
Where it's exclusive, where you actually have to do
exactly.
that. Like there's no buying it or like doing any other thing. It's like you actually have to achieve this in the game, and you get to have your exclusive.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with the. You probably can drop the power now. Yeah. I don't want to have the like super gimmicky achievements where it's just like play a thing. Do that 10 more times and you got the second thing. It doesn't have the same thing, and it kind of hurts me.
Could we see, and I know this is a little bit harder, multi-step achievements, right? Where it's like, you have to complete something in order. Just as an example, like win a game with Zeus, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
The first step. You finish that, but the second step is deal a killing blow with Nemesis.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
We could see it. Normally, you kind of streamline them a little bit easier. Especially when you look at like console and stuff like that, it needs to kind of be in front of them because they display the entire list to everyone. But yeah, I think those kind of things work. Like, I think my favorite achievement of all time was the original Gears of War, where it was the Are You Serious? And it was like play 10,000 games.
Yeah. Just like, no, it's not going to happen.
It's like just one of those cool things that it's just like, I'll get there maybe.
There'll be one person with it at some point.
And I think if that had like a specific avatar that animated,
and there'd be like only just a few people who did it,
and then you could really stand out amongst your peers.
That'd be awesome.
So that's kind of my vision for it.
All right. Final question from Twisted is: have you considered allowing players to prestige and keep increasing their player levels by redoing 0 to 30 with leaders that they have already maxed?
Yes, we've considered it. I haven't figured out the best way of doing it yet, and what the rewards are for it, or how you trigger it, or all the entire UI flow. But yeah, it's something that we have considered. I think prestiging as a whole was something that's really fun for everyone. Going back all the way back to the original Call of Duty.
I think it's a great system.
Modern Warfare, super awesome to do. And you can do specific things, right? Like, I mean, we could actually have an avenue to where you get a prismatic leader card, right? If we wanted to go down that road, or just a gold leader card that you can only get from going prestige, right? Very similar to like the gold to the diamonds, right?
Yeah.
I think something like that makes sense. And it also is a nice tie back into Smite, which is the motherland.
Up next is Supersonic Blur. I think we'll have to start answering these questions pretty fast because we're barely there. Up next, Supersonic Blur. Are there any plans for any bigger tournaments as the scene grows? And if so, any ballpark ideas on those? I'll answer that real quick. Obviously, we just announced the 50K. I don't know if you saw that announcement at Hi-Rez Expo. That's going to have 8 qualifying events. A good portion are going to be online in the
I think if someone just links the link in the chat,
someone
it's
drop
probably
it in chat.
fine. I see Twisted in there. Twisted, if you can just drop a link in there, that we can just kind of skip past this one so we don't miss too many of them.
Could we see a pure gold set pack for a higher price tag, which offers you the golden cards, or maybe having the free cards be rewards in golden for reaching certain player/leader levels?
Well, we kind of, if we did the prestige, I think that would be an avenue to get some gold cards inside of there. I think achievements is a way you could get it. No plans right now for a golden pack, though. No.
Well, speaking in that same vein, Deathwalker actually asked a very similar question. Where do you plan? When do you plan to have another pack in the store besides just the core packs?
It's a good question. Right now, I think it's one of those things where we will assess the state of the game after we get Hindu, and then look at our next Pantheon and see how many cards are inside the core pack, what's that experience like to go through it at this point for a new player, and if a new pack is necessary or not.
Yeah, and it's like if a new pack comes out, also you have to think of, well, you would need a lot of content to actually fill that
right.
next pack.
I think we learned earlier on with the way that our packs work when the game first rolled out in alpha. We only had like 40 cards inside the packs, and people were just like, I don't get it. Why don't I have all the cards yet? So I think getting that balance is going to be a little bit tricky. But so right now, technically no plans, but in the future, again, we will reassess the game and go from there.
Clank asks, will there be some sort of sandbox mode where players can summon any card at will and test out certain scenarios, just have fun?
I think yes. I think this is something that we should look to add from a development side. I also think that
that'd be really helpful for our QA team, actually.
Yeah,
just having that.
I think a sandbox mode works. I also want to create. And this is something like super long. This is probably like a 2-year goal, kind of to harp back to Twisted's questions, where I really want to have like a true sandbox mode where people can go in there and say, I want leader on board or leader off board. I want summoning stones. I want 2v2, right? Like assuming you get it all in there. I think players creating things is one of the most most empowering things you can do from a game standpoint, right?
Would you be able to share those settings, right?
Yeah,
like if I create my own custom mode, I can share that with all my friends.
I think in the ideal world, right, you would have it to where the settings, you would actually save them off, right? And then you could upload it into some cloud space where then people could download it off of there. You see it a lot in just a lot of different games where the more creativity that you give to the players, the cooler things come out of it. And, Austin one day said, it'd be really cool if we could just create some way of giving like card templates inside of games where people could try different things and just assign different units to it and see how it plays out, right?
Like
now, obviously, that would be a technical disaster and a nightmare to even get to the point where it's working. But I think those kind of things are something that we could look at as we're way further ahead. That's not like immediate or anything. That's actually also just a dream. So.
Howdy How asks, any plans for a story mode? If not, any reason why not? If yes, nice.
So I get this one a good amount.
This is an off question.
I think, right now when we look at it, you guys have to always remember the Hand of the Gods is a relatively small team. We just work really, really fast, and we're super passionate about the game. So the priority is 1, polish as always, and 2, get more card content out there for our players. So if anything kind of conflicts with that, we have to kind of cut it out. Now, the story mode, we've set it up to where it's based off of the comic book series, right? It kind of picks up where it left off. One of the reasons for that is Scott Zier was the creative director on the comic book, and it was kind of like a layup for us. But I think down the way, I think it's something that would be really, really cool because, one, we have the game to do it, right?
Yeah,
and Smite,
it makes sense with us.
It totally makes sense. And then you could go through it and unlock specific cards, or there's something there that we should do, but right now it's not on the list.
Okay. Up next is Imfam Yulner. He's an active, actually, tournament player. This is a pretty long question, but basically it comes down to he's asking, what sort of format would you prefer to see in competitive Hand of the Gods? I've personally been experimenting with a couple different styles over the weeklies, and I'm just going to keep doing that. We are in a very kind of early grassroots stage where we don't know what's the best, right? Our game is different than a lot of other card games, and we kind of just have to keep trying out things and find out what's best. And anyone who runs community tournaments, if you guys want to try out formats we haven't touched, that's a great thing too. I'd love to know any feedback you guys have from those styles.
For me, I have a very long history in esports as a whole. I was a part of esports before it was called esports, right? It was pro gaming. For me, I'm kind of indifferent. I think whatever the players think is the best route to do. So I kind of look to empower Adanas on that. And if Adanas is saying that the community thinks that this is the way that it needs to be played and that we should do it, then, I'll empower that.
Yep. Up next, Scott Gandhi, you said not long ago that there are no other game modes being worked. Yeah, we already talked about that for 2v2. Any spoils for the future of competitive Hand of the Gods, perhaps a location of time? So again, 50K announcement, there's stuff in the works, and if I could say something, I would, but we need to get 100% confirmation. We can't have something out there and then it change later. That's something I don't want. We don't want to have release information and have it change in some way, but it's soon. Trademark symbol. Cookie. He's been around for a while. Why haven't we seen any more high mana cost cards when clearly a lot of players prefer a greedy play style as of late? Also making the high mana curve more accessible by doing more cards like Brute, non-legendary high cost cards.
So yeah, when we look at high mana cost cards, really when you're considering playing a deck that has 7 to 10 mana drops, it's very tricky from a design perspective to create these cards, because the first thing is if you're playing a card that is 8 mana, if it doesn't have immediate impact on the board or a way for you to come back, you are not going to play that card. So right now, a lot of people when we originally made the change to Brute, everyone was like, oh my God, it's just so hard to deal with this, that, and another thing. And now if you run Brute and you run into a Mayan deck, you just get steamrolled, right? Because you can be removed. Yes, it is a big body, but if it doesn't have spell immunity and it gets taken off the board, it's still not going to get played, right? So it's a very tricky line. Now, I'm not saying that we're not going to ever do it, because we're always going to do it, but we have to do things where it's not just direct damage or something where it's you come into the spawn, you draw 5 cards, and then you refresh your entire deck or whatever it is, right? There's tricks to do it, but right now we just need to utilize the cards better, because even our 4 to 6 mana range still needs improvement, right? Yes, we have a lot of gods in there and everything, but that still needs to be rounded up. So we're looking at ways to do it. It's just rather tricky. So like the Hydra, for example, the design directive that I have given to both Adanas and Austin is it is a 7+ mana drop card that can't have direct damage on the board. And that is what we're kind of working back from there. So
up next, Cookie asks, any chance we get support with keyboard as well? Enjoyed the 2 key for leader ability, but that's gone now. I'm pretty sure that's a bug, Cookie. Let me go talk to our QA. Yeah, no,
that should be a bug.
I'm pretty sure it's a bug. Let me talk to Alex on the status of that. I know he was looking into it. So that's something that I'll follow up with you later on. That guy LHS, which is Zach from the community team, actually asked more sigil cards for Norse. He loves Norse, and he loves the hunter and the warrior, and just kind of like the idea of a spell that creates units.
It's the go wide. It's the go wide strategy that works out pretty nice for them. Right now, we actually don't have anything lined up like a sigil equivalent card for Norse. Really, what we have our eye on is Fafnir and Tyr. These are 2 cards that we have yet to add into the game. We're also looking at more structures for all the pantheons. So coming up in 0.28, you will actually see a specific structure for Norse, Chinese, and Egypt. So more empowering structures that aren't lackluster like Construct, which we still need to go to the drawing board on. Someone, I think Beelzebub, was like, I'm still trying to make it work. And I was like, it's okay, man.
It's fun, man. I enjoy it. Oh my God, it's Dehe. Ask about other platforms. You already answered that. You can listen to the beginning of the VOD if you missed it. Sinbreed asks, what sort of rewards do you have for the winner of the Hi-Rez Expo, except maybe money, of course? Smite Paladins have skins. I would hope you let the winner design a card or be animated in the game in some way. That would be a cooler thing to them than the skin.
Yeah, I mean, I think the winner designing a card is fine. Obviously, I would have to pick which unit he did, because he would not get to pick a unit that I would want to do, because that's how that works.
You're like, okay, I really don't want to deal with this unit and think of a design. So yeah, you could do that one.
I will give him a tree to design, and you can put the tree anywhere on the map you want. But I think realistically, anything's on the table. We haven't. I honestly didn't even think twice about that.
I think we'll do a cool thing.
There's something in there. Maybe it's a SWC card back where when you get it, it has the winner next to it.
I mean, Scott,
whatever it is.
Scott's esports, and I got hired through esports, so
yeah, there will be something.
You'll get represented well, I think.
If you really want to design a card, we can do that too.
Okay. Kubek asks, is there any way to run Hog on Linux?
I don't think yet, no.
Okay.
But I think we're working on that.
Ahel asks, any chance for obstacles, bushes, or fire pits again? So, I know we're coming out with the structures.
On the map.
But like a Ymir wall, I know we've mentioned that before.
Yeah, I don't think any of the maps will have anything on them at the very beginning, like a stone or anything that obstructs movement. I think giving the player the ability to play them is way more enticing. And I also think it's way cooler from a design perspective because, we get to kind of be like, okay, well, how could we actually make fire pits work if you were to play it as a spell, right? That's way more creative for us than just putting it on the map and players forced to play the way that we want them to instead of empowering them to play the way they should be playing. So not on the map at the beginning, but definitely as spells.
I know you, just kind of speaking on that a little bit more because I think players would like this. I know we had structures that were supposed to be coming out for Rome originally, and I know that was pretty a heavy emphasis. It was only Construct that got made in the end.
Yep.
But I think it's kind of bringing in those things slowly and not just like, here's 10 cards. It's more like, here's a few, let's see how it works and go from there.
Yeah, actually, when I think about it, Ballista Tower kind of works now with Venus.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Right? Especially if we increase it to like a 3x3 and Venus was there, right? You would actually have to move. And we
Are you talking about the original design for
that
that one?
Yeah. I think the original design, as long as you play it with Venus. But, that's 2 cards to kind of do it. But just thinking about it, I think it could actually work. So, yeah, they'll return in some capacity.
They will come.
Yeah.
Biko asks, hi guys, I finally made top 1 in ranked, and now I'm placed 1800 something. What is the max? What is the min? I mean, I don't think we're going to share those numbers.
I don't know them.
I don't know them either.
I don't know what the max is. It's like 3650 maybe.
Just keep going. I believe in you.
You got a long way to go, buddy.
Dark Bob asks, will we have any card effects that trigger on the enemy turn like secrets? I know we already have stuff like that with Kabrakan and AMC, so
we already showed Pillar of Austerity.
And we have this coming up as well, which I think is really cool. So we're already doing those type of cards.
So there's going to be way more. A lot of the pillars are going to interact on the player's turn. Some of them, other ones will just have persistent effects that are global. Not adjacent, but global. So it's on the list.
Dark Bob also asks, what's up with the card levels? Are we doing anything with those? That's a good question.
That is a system that I don't actually know what our original plan.
It's an old system.
It's a very old system. There's nothing planned, and I don't have a good way of bullshitting around this.
At least you're honest. No,
it's there.
We were like, I'm pretty sure you were like, this is a cool thing, and then the game evolved way past it, and you don't want to remove a system because you never know if you're going to do anything new with it.
I don't remember the first design for it or anything, so sorry, I have no idea.
Will getting to rank 1 reward you with anything? Maybe a rank 1 icon. Yeah, we mentioned that earlier.
Do some resets,
Peas Rappa, will you be able to qualify for the big tourney next year also via rank or just via qualifiers?
Told you rank. Told you.
What?
Remember?
I know.
That was in my original pitch.
It's part of it.
So when we were talking about this year's the path to HRX and how we wanted to do it, we had a couple of different ideas. Personally, I've always thought that the ranked playlist is one of the most important things to maintain and to also encourage people to play on a consistent basis. Mostly that stems from my time back in Halo 2 where the getting to level 50 was single-handedly the most important thing I could ever do ever. So that's kind of just been stuck in me, and I've always tried to bring that out there. So I think in the future, if we could find a way to explore an avenue for players to make it to tournaments with ranked, I think that would be something that's really awesome. Maybe it's a point structure. Maybe, who knows? We could add a tournament inside of the game, and you don't have to worry about it anyway.
I think with ranked in its current structure as well, I know we want to re-hit it in a future patch, but it's really not in the state that we would ever put anything like a qualification to HRX banked on it in its current situation. It would need to be flushed out a little bit more. Darkus asks, are you guys going to be bring back daily login bonuses in the future?
Nope. Daily login bonus is so when we had daily login bonus, this is actually kind of important. So when we had daily login bonus, a lot of people looked at it and they said, one, if I miss a day, it's way too punishing because it just resets me all the way back. Two, a lot of people just kind of they go through the motions, right? It's the entire game design doesn't revolve around just logging into the game, right? It's about playing the game and getting the quest. So we kind of emphasized everything inside the quest. Now, when we look forward, I want to add more quests. We also have things like clans. That is something that's been on the list for a little bit here, where the clans will actually have a clan-specific quest that repeats every single week, where everyone will band together to kind of do it.
I think that's the first time we've mentioned clans publicly, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
good job.
Well, it's in one patch coming up. But basically, the idea is that I want people to be rewarded for playing the game, not just logging into the game, and I think that's a very big difference.
It doesn't feel good to be like, oh, I got to log in to play, or just to get a reward.
Yeah, and I want people to be active. So.
Yeah. Also, I know, obviously a little bit looking into the future right now is Smite does a lot of events that give you bonus favor and gems. I think that's the potential for our game as well, doing weekend events and things like that. So there'll be more than just logging in Quest.
Yeah,
but that's
for
down.
sure.
That's down the line. Trey 50 Daniel. So this was already kind of answered. Will there be any expansion type content, or just mostly remain as add-ons to the original?
TBD.
Game? Yep.
TBD.
Namasil. Will we see secondary abilities? We actually, I think he means like Poseidon, which we have, maybe. And we also just released the new Mayan spell. I'm not exactly sure on your question, Namasil. Yeah. Jaj DP asks, I think we need an official website where we can find written tutorials on all abilities. I 100% agree. For studying the game while we are away from a computer, do you have something like that in mind? I mean, this would help get the forum get less question about this big stuff.
Well, I guess one part is, so Austin and myself have put together a Tactics Advanced Rulebook, which we have posted inside the Discord, and everyone has access to it.
If it's not pinned, I'm going to go make sure it's pinned when I get back.
So that's kind of on Adanas to make sure that information is conveyed too. Yeah, we probably should have something inside of a website. I think Adanas will probably get a Jira very soon that tells him to make something on the web. Here's your book. So, yes, I think you gave him a task, which is good. I don't run out of things to give him, but sometimes, I'm not sure what he does. So, yeah, I think there's definitely avenues to do it, and I think we should be putting all that information everywhere publicly. Long term, I think hopefully by the beginning of 2018, we will actually have a glossary section in-game that you can reference as well, which is the Tactics Advanced Rulebook, but everything detailed out.
Okay, Like a Wolf asks, I think every faction needs better board clear spells, not just legendary. Game is too much minion based. So if you can dominate board, comeback is really hard unless you pick a legendary board clear. Will we see more board clear spells?
So I think the first part of this is understanding the difference between our game and other games.
Yes.
Our game is more unit focused than it is about removal. The more removal you add, it basically just turns into, oh, you played this, okay, I got an answer for it, you're out of there, and now it just kind of comes back, right? And like what we normally see inside of our game, especially with the feedback that we get from the community, things that do have immediate impact on the board and that do swing games are mostly hated. Like everyone really, really despises these cards. Like when you think about Blade Master, right? He is a 7-mana card that basically deals 4 damage. It is equivalent of a 4 damage spell with a 4/7 body, right? And people loathe this card because it has immediate impact and it's removing these units, and it's a very bad experience for the player. So we put all of the emphasis on the units, and we try to keep the removal down to a minimum. Now, yes, I do believe that there should be more added, just as a little bit. If, you could make a case that, hey, Norse, if they're behind and you're running mid-range, they have nothing that deals anything over 5 damage unless you get lucky with Mayhem. And I would say, yes, I agree 110% with you. You're correct. We should give them something that deals more damage that they can respond to an answer. But if you're talking about looking at giving more removal to like Greek, which the Pantheon is not even anything structured around, it doesn't make any sense. And then what happens is you kind of blend all the Pantheons together and there's no dynamic feel to any of them, and it just kind of becomes the same game across the board. We want to reduce the amount of random, which is why we made the Discover change, and we also want to reduce the amount of board clear that are in there.
I love that change, by the way. When you said, hey, we're going to do this, I'm like, yes, I love you. This is perfect. It's like, that's the most annoying thing ever, is having players that will generate cards that you just have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, it's all about having more counterplay, right? If, there's a Discover card that says, discover a random card inside the game. It's like, okay, well, how do I account for everything in the game? But that's why we show it. Yeah.
Beals, let's just go with Beal. All right, Beal and Beals is easy. This is more relatable to MTG than other collectible card games, but I was wondering if we might get abilities on creatures that use mana crystals or activate creatures whose enter the battlefield effects scale or get increasingly powerful by consuming more mana.
I think it's totally an avenue that we will investigate in the future. It just as a little background on Austin. Austin is basically played 20 years of Magic the Gathering.
He came out playing Magic the Gathering.
He's a year older than me, and he looks younger than you. I would say he probably looks around your age.
Not when I shave.
Yeah, no, not
No
when you
one
shave.
looks like
No,
you.
no one looks as young as you when
We're
you
going-
shave. But
we're like high school.
so he is very, very magic centric, and he always is. He's looking at graveyards and all the very fun mechanics from there to see what we can kind of get inspiration from. So I imagine if there is a way for him to reimagine how a planeswalker works or something along those lines, or a tap system, I think he'll try to bring it to life, and I empower him to do so. It's really just a matter of, can we do it in a way that's different and unique and also fun? Yeah.
That concludes all the questions that we pulled from Twitter and Discord. If you guys have any additional questions, we've got about 10 minutes left. And we're also going to be revealing the Ganesh spoil here. Actually, you know what? You want to just
that.
do...
My voice
all right,
is shattered.
we're just going to give the Ganesh... Before we get into this, the audio isn't set up, but we just kind of wanted to show it to you real quick because I think it's cool.
Valhalla beckons you.
Real quick.
Yeah, you can play it again. I think it was really, really awesome.
Valhalla beckons you.
New Pantheon.
Yep.
So there you go. Ganesh's leader intro. We also spoiled one card from the Pantheon Pillar of Austerity. We also have some plans to spoil a few more cards coming out next week. Some of that could involve the streamers on this channel, on the Hand of the God streamers. I'm actually going to talk to them. I haven't told them yet. I think I'm going to be giving a few of them some cards to reveal on their stream. So make sure to follow us if you're not already, and keep up with kind of all the Hand of the Gods action. All right, let's pull some final questions here from chat.
Let's do like 5.
Any updates on Spectator that we can expect within the next few patches?
Few patches, yes. Next patch or the one after that, not yet. But you can expect some revamps to the Spectator mode by mid-September.
This is just a card suggestion. Any collection filtering coming, such as sort of rarity searching by card name?
On the list?
For sure. Are we going to have more deck slots?
That's something that I brought up. We need to kind of do a change to the UI as to how we'll display it, because obviously it was built for 8. But it's definitely something we're looking into, yes.
Okay. Hand of the Gods, is there a possibility to implement units that are strong that die on the same turn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of similar to like, what's the Norse card? I'm drawing blank right now.
Is there a possibility to implement units that are strong that... Enrage.
Yeah, it's very similar to Enrage.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just on the unit itself.
Yeah, there's something to it. But, again, the main thing with that is that, that, again, it would be a card that has charge on it that would just deal instant damage, where it's effectively the same thing as a spell, but at the end of the day, we're kind of using a unit on it. So we like to use our units more dynamically than just something that's just going to die immediately, with the exception being kind of Fire Imp.
Yeah,
but even Fire Imps can stay on the turn, can stay on the board for a little bit.
Yeah. Is there I just asked that one. Have you thought about new archetypes, something other than Warcry or Afterlife?
Yeah, Hindu will be getting a brand new keyword associated with them. I don't think we've revealed anything on it. I don't think I plan on doing anything today on it. But probably next week we can go ahead and start taking a look at the archetypes. But yeah, they have a brand new mechanic. I think it's super awesome. It also is very lore fitting, which is something that we take a lot of pride in over here. So I think we did a good job with it.
By the way, why don't we get match start alert like Paladins and Smite?
That's just a good idea.
I already Jira'd that.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I
don't have it on my Jira.
I'm gonna go on Jira when we get back, and I'm gonna link you to the Jira.
I 100%
because we talked about it in a meeting, and you said make a Jira for me, so I made a Jira when I got back to my desk.
Well, yeah, that's a thing that we should do.
We'll get it. Could you get a comeback mechanic when your god has 5 HP or less? Maybe your god or leader ability gets more powerful.
We haven't talked about anything like that, but my initial instinct is to not have something like that. But it's not ruining it off completely. It's something that we could do. It just doesn't really work in any of the current pantheons that we have. Like there could be a spell that is played on inside of Egypt where if your leader takes, or if your summoning stone takes fatal damage, heal it back up to full. Like we could do something like that, but obviously that's a legendary card, and you would have to play that, and it would persist. So there's a little bit of balancing in there. A lot of the times, what we've learned is that anything that only lasts for a turn duration, unless it's direct buff to your units, if it fades off at the beginning of your next turn, doesn't really get played regardless of the mana cost. Like Shell gives Protect 2, and it's included in maybe 5% of the decks.
Yeah, mostly people who haven't found out that it's
which it is a very strong card, very similar to Purification. But people just don't value it.
Thanks, Twisted. He pinned the rulebook in the Discord, so make sure to check out that. Also, that's Uki's site he listed, which is a really good deck builder site as well. Will we ever see our own deck back on the UI while in game with an animation like drawing a card?
Never seen our own deck. Oh. They're talking about basically creating a model of the deck on the board. It's something we talked about. It's just very, very difficult to place it right now just because we have a board with moving units, but we could take a look at it again. It would just take a significant amount of reworking of how everything's laid out.
Okay. Zach, watch the VOD. We already answered your question. Should have been here from the start, man. Will Kakulin be Irish in this game?
Is he not Irish?
Well, no, I think that's a pantheon that just came out in Smite. I don't think it's ready to be explored by us just yet. So that's a future deal.
Yeah, I haven't done any research on them, so I wouldn't know.
Is there a possibility for an increase in drop rates? I found one legendary in packs, LOL, and not a lot of dust either. We have... let me know how many packs you opened. Nocturne Growl, send me a Twitter DM. I'm at Hi-Rez Adanas. That sounds a little bit odd that that's happening, so let me follow up with you on that.
Yeah. There is a pity counter in our game where it's lack of a better word, but you are guaranteed a legendary inside of opening 40 packs, and if you have not received a legendary inside of 40 packs, that's something that you should send a support ticket to ASAP because we need to investigate that.
Okay.
We good?
I think that answers kind of most of the questions. There's 4 minutes left. Will we see gods that aren't in Smite?
That is my dream.
That's a dream.
Yeah. Right now, probably not.
I mean, that's one thing about our game too. Is like we were able to pump this out so fast because our company as a whole had already done so much work.
Yeah.
I mean, everything needs to be retouched, right? And so it still requires more work, but. That's a lot to create characters from scratch. That's a long time.
Especially gods. I mean, you're talking about that pipeline's like 60 days. So.
Robot gods. I don't know.
Absolutely robot gods.
If it was in a question, it's just robot gods.
Okay.
All right, that's gonna be it for our dev Q&A. Thank you guys for joining us. We're definitely gonna be doing more of these. I know we did one a month or two ago. I think we're gonna make
every
them
Friday.
Yeah, are we doing one every Friday?
Isn't that what you said? Or every 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think every 2 week, every off Friday.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be doing more of these. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next time. I believe Super XJJ is coming on the stream up next, and he has some giveaways for you. Thanks again, and we will catch you next time.